Hello, this is Trevor Lewis from the Voyager STEAM Lab again, and today what I'm going to be showing you is how to use Google Classroom to give feedback to your students. I'm going to show you a couple different ways. So we're going to start off with, if you click on an assignment in Google Classroom, you probably get to some place like this where you have all your students listed down the side. You can see this is an ungraded assignment, but you'd have grades listed here. If you were typing in grades, you've got your student work right here, and you can see that the student and I have been commenting back and forth with each other. This is not usually how I type the private comments, but I could type it right here. Usually what I would do is I would be grading this assignment. I'd want to actually view this file, so I'd click the file, which would take me to a view like this, which is Google's course kit that helps you grade things. So let me show you how this works. So I've got students up here. I can sort the students by different things, by their first and last name, by the status, whether they've turned it in or not. I can page through students here. I can see, so you can see this is a drawing file that we use in our laser cutter, so I get a preview of it here. If it's not a file I can preview, I'd have to press download and open it on my computer. You can see they can have more than one file. This is the one file that this student has up. And you can see there's a list of private comments with times and dates here. And I can add a private comment here. But the really, really useful thing when you're grading a lot of things from a lot of students is the comment bank. So let me show you how that works. Over here, this is my files, but if I click here, I get into my comment bank. And you can see I have a very extensive comment bank of comments that I like to use. Trying to find one on this list would be very, very painful, but luckily this is run by Google, so they're pretty good at search. So all I do to add to the bank is I push add to bank and I type in what I want here and hit add. If I want to find it, all I gotta remember is a keyword, a word that is in there. So if I know I'm talking about iteration, then I've got a couple of different comments about iterations that I use. So if I can come up with that, all I gotta do now is choose copy to clipboard, or I can edit or delete it too, change my item bank, go back to grading, and just paste it here. I like to right click and paste, and then I could also edit. Maybe like this part of the comment didn't really apply to this person, so I can delete it before I hit post. So that's it for comments in the comments bank. It's really nice because you have two-way communication with the student. I like doing that a lot, and I use it for a lot of different things. So that's one method of giving feedback to students that's really efficient. Another way is if you're assigning a Google Doc, you can give comments right in the Google Doc. So in the Google Doc, you can add your comments to the side like this. So the way you do this is you just select, there's not much I haven't commented on here, but I would select the part that I want to comment on, and then I would press this button right here to add a comment. The cool thing here is this also reads from your comment bank, and it will, if you start typing it and it's noticing you're typing something very similar, it'll suggest a comment, and you can just click on it and it will fill it in, and you can press comment. Now your students can press resolve on these comments, and that'll make them disappear. So you either have to train them not to do that, or if you want them to resolve them when they're done, you can press resolve. Another way to give feedback right here is by suggesting an edit. So right now, I actually can edit this file even though it doesn't belong to me, because the student, by turning it in, has given me access. So I could come in here and type something different because I'm in editing mode. Right up here, it says editing mode. I can also switch to viewing mode so I don't accidentally change anything, but I like to be in suggesting mode, which means I would suggest an edit. Like, let's say I didn't think this was Thursday. I thought they should have written Wednesday. That's what it looks like when I suggest an edit. So it comes in green. I cross out this, put this instead, and then it gives this suggestion. So the student can look at this and say, oh, I agree, it should have been Wednesday, and hit the check mark. Or they could look it up and say, no, Mr. Lewis, you're wrong. It really was Thursday, and they could reject the suggestion. So that's another way to give feedback in a very direct way inside a Google Doc. Okay, so those are some very specific ways. Another way to give feedback that I use a lot when I'm posting questions is I do the two-way feedback like this, but because my students, they put in their answer to their question, and if their answer to their question is not good enough, I make them post a private comment with a new answer. So I would give them a grade. It would be less than 5 out of 5. And then I would give them a question like this, which would prompt them to maybe answer the question more efficiently. I always do this. This is a little pro tip. I always put a plus sign in the front of my comments in this type of question, because that way, when I'm looking down this list on the side, since I can't resubmit them, I can tell who's the last person to comment, because if it's a plus sign, that means it was my comment. If it wasn't a plus sign, it means that it was the student's comment, and maybe I need to click on it and actually read what they read and actually change their grade. So that's a neat little trick to show you who is the last person to comment. The last thing I want to show you is how to use Rubrics, which is a new feature in Google Classroom. So I made a rubric for this fake assignment. It's a fake rubric, so it's a little bit light. So this assignment, I went in, the student actually doesn't have a file here, but you can see the rubric is here. It's 2 4-point scales, and I put in some names for them, which you can see when I hover over them, and I can click on them and assign the rubrics. I can also click here and expand and see the names and a description if I had written one, which I did not. So if I click on that, and this person gets 3 points here, and this person gets 2 points here, that's a total of 5 points, but guess what? The assignment's only worth 1 point. So it actually gives me 5/8 of a point, which is kind of cool. So it does the math for you. That's kind of interesting how it scales it for you. So this is another way to give feedback, is by using rubrics, which we are all pretty familiar with. The last thing I wanted to say is, if you are dying to write in red pen all over their students' Google Docs, you can do that, although you cannot do it on your computer. You got to whip out your phone, your Android or your iOS device, and download the Google Classroom app. The Google Classroom app will allow you to click on the pencil icon and write in red all over your students' work if you still like to write in red. So that is it for feedback in Google Classroom. Give that a shot. If you can be efficient in the way you give feedback, then you can give timely feedback to more students, which is really, really effective. I also find it really effective with the private comments, because students who are a little bit too shy to talk to me in person will still ask me questions. Even though they're sitting 6 feet away from me in the classroom, they'll type a question to me, even though they wouldn't ask me in person. So give it a try, and give your students some feedback and see if that helps improve their performance.